Hi everybody, my name is William,
I'm Esther.
and this is Sebastian Hjärne Under an Hour, and this podcast is produced by the Entrepreneurship Society. Well, thanks for being here, Sebastian.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So, should we start with a bit of your backstory for people who don't know exactly who you are?
Yeah, sounds good. So my name is Sebastian Hjärne. First off, I'm the CEO and founder of Talentium. And before that, Talentium is my third company. So I have had, two companies before.
Okay,
Cool,
very
and
nice.
you started directly after high school, correct?
Yeah.
And in Sweden, basically it's not really frowned upon, but it's not very, usually you're encouraged to try to get into higher studies, start university. So what was the full process there, not basically continuing your studies?
So I think directly after the Swedish gymnasium, or the preschool, directly after when I started, I just felt that everyone had the clear path. Everyone wants to study. Everyone, a lot of my friends went to SSC and KDH, and somewhere to Lund, Uppsala. So I think it's pretty scattered when you are ending up school overall. And I think my thought process was that, I really felt that I have been crunching school now for the past time and just wanted to take some time off. But at some point I needed to do something, right? So I actually started to work just for a couple of months at the company. It was a tech company. So I was working with, various tasks at that point. And actually that process was pretty fast. So once I started, I had kind of the, I had the advantage of growing pretty much fast inside of the company. So I started first off with a role, and pretty fast I got promoted. And then I got my boss come again and said we will be promoting you, because I was working very hard at that point. And 2 days before, my former boss then first off, she was pregnant, so she got the child. So 2 days before I got the promotion, the entire team had got communicated that I was going to take that role, and then they paused it.
Oh,
Yeah.
So out of that, I just felt that, I really, because I was working very hard at that point, and I really felt that, I can and I want to do something on my own. So at that point, I just resigned.
okay.
Oh,
So out of that frustration, I just resigned, and I felt I want to do something on my own, basically.
And did you have an idea of what you wanted to do?
No, so this was the thing, everyone in my friend group and my parents also, they said that, you need to make money, right? And you need to have some way of, making sure that, you can stand on your own feet. And I just resigned without money, without an idea. And I just felt that I want to do something, but I really don't know what to do. So I took one step back, basically. And I tried to think of, okay, what have I done now for the past year? And what have I learned? And basically it was very much towards, at that point, it was towards sales and, a little bit project management and stuff like that. So I felt that is what I will do. So I started my first company with as a consultancy business, where I went out to the big companies out there, the big tech companies, and I said that I can do similar business as what I did there for the other company as a consultancy. But pretty fast I felt that, okay, this is not it. I feel that I need to have an idea, and I want to do a bet on something, because it's not so scalable in starting to be a consultancy. It's literally the same as I did before, right?
Yeah.
So I was sitting the same hours. I just had my own consultancy company in that sense, with just me as a resource. So I started to analyze instead of what is their problem? What is their day-to-day problem? And a lot was pointing towards data. So data in general was a huge problem. So data was basically hard to, get, where do I find the data internally? But I think the much bigger kind of picture, how I see it, is that, even if you have a lot of data, because everyone is talking about data all the time, but it doesn't matter how much data you have if you don't know what to do with the data. So this was exactly my kind of thesis, and that is how I started my first company, Invoice.
yeah. And we'll get back to Talentium a bit later, but as you said, you just completely resigned from basically a stable source of income, and you didn't really know what you wanted to do right then. Most people would maybe try to find a part-time job, try to start something half-time, but you just fully committed. What was the full process behind that?
I just felt that because I'm pretty intensive, like as a person, and I feel that when I'm doing something, I'm giving like 100% of my heart and soul into something, and I felt that I can have a part-time job, but I will have a hard time really adapting, because if I would to have like a part-time job, I would also like to do that great, right? And in order to make something great, you need to really put the effort in. So this was the thought process behind, and usually I tend to have one project at a time, and that is also a learning. I love to have multiple balls in the air and multiple companies at the same time, but I felt that it's pretty hard, in my opinion, to do that by myself, because I'm that kind of person where I'm like, I like to put the effort in this. Yeah,
You want to be
thing.
full on one thing. Understandable. What was the reaction around you when they realized you were kind of just gonna try to do your own thing?
I think you were getting a lot of different opinions. Like, it's always opinions everywhere. And at my point, I really didn't have like an education. So it was a lot of my friends at that point that were like asking, is this really the thing to do, more than maybe supporting. But I had like super high conviction that I will make something out of it. So it's like you need to be very stubborn and like really change the way that you are thinking if you're getting into like running a startup. And at that point, I was a lot with my friends, right, from before, and from school and everything, and spend time with my family. But then I started the invoice kind of time, and apparently I was locked in with a developer living on my couch day to day, and I weren't answer anyone. So I think it's a big switch. I don't say that is necessarily what you need to do, but I think in my experience, and it was very valuable.
Yeah, maybe that's probably worked best for you, basically.
Exactly.
And as you mentioned, the lack of higher education, has that impacted your business running in any way? Have you felt like you're held back in certain manners?
I think I tend to, where I have certain limitation, how I look at like talent overall is that where I have certain limitations, I want to bring in people where they can add that kind of, boost to the company in terms of knowledge. So this is also how I built the organization overall. So if I feel that I don't know something, this is also like an extension of myself, how I built the organization overall. And so I haven't really felt the limitation. And I also tend to use like a lot of AI, which it's helping me a lot in my day-to-day.
Same.
So, yeah.
And as you mentioned, like you're trying to find talent, like even with Talentium now, maybe we'll move a bit into that. So what I've understood, you're basically using Talentium to hire people to Talentium, right?
Yeah.
And how does that work basically for us that maybe aren't as tech savvy?
Yeah, so from the beginning, when we started the Talentium, it's a pretty fun story overall. But I have had these two companies before, so the Play Green and Invoice, and I was, not super technical at that point. Of course, I had like one tech company before, but overall I wasn't like super technical, which means that I needed to learn a lot in order to run like a new tech company, and I needed an extension of myself, right, again. So I needed to find someone that can help me technical. So I was still running the company called Play Green. We can come to that a little bit later. But overall, there was this guy applying for a job in my previous company, Play Green, and what he'd done was that he built a bot that was applying to multiple job boards. And he was definitely not sales. He was very, very techy, and he was applying for a sales role. So this was my thesis. Like, I really felt the frustration that it didn't work to find the people that I wanted, right? So I took this coffee with this guy. He was working at studying at KTH at this point. And I just met him for a coffee, and we were talking, and I was asking like, why are you applying for this job, Because I really wanted to understand, why are you applying for this sales role once you have zero experience? This is really not, I see clear that is not what you want to do. And he was telling me about this like job application, that is just applying for multiple jobs. So at that point, I met him, and the day after we aligned on the kind of, this is what we want to do. And the day after, he moved into my couch.
What?
So this was like the story. So I met him for lunch, and then I moved into him, like he was living at my couch then.
Wow.
And we started Talentium. But at that point, we needed more developers. He was very technical, but we needed to build a team in order to build a solution like Talentium. So me and Noah is his name. We were basically building like a MVP where we could screen multiple sources like GitHub, Stack Overflow, Wellfound, and sources that wasn't necessarily LinkedIn in order to find the talent that we needed to execute this. So we built like a pretty simple MVP where you can, go out to the technical sources and analyze actual work that has been done. So with other words, we could analyze a repository, we could check like Stack Overflow, Wellfound, various sources to check for profiles that can execute like the thing that you wanted help with. And in our case, it was to build like a search engine. So we analyzed the work of these people on a very, very basic MVP. We find these usernames on GitHub, so it was not even their like real names. And then from there, we just nurtured them. Multiple profiles of them really didn't have LinkedIn at that point. So, yeah.
And that's basically where you come in and try to fill the gap. So basically, you talked, like when you began, he was on your couch probably a lot of hours, right? How was the beginning process? Was it difficult? A lot of hours, a lot of time putting in? How was that?
Yeah, it was very difficult overall, and that period was very. I loved that part. It's like you have a hate love, Yeah. We were working like 17 hours a day, sitting inside like we were living at 30 like 27 square meters, something like that, and he was living on like a saccosäck, so it was not even a couch.
Yeah.
And we were switching the saccosäck and the bed like time. And I remember this crazy guy, because I didn't know him so good at that point, right? And he was sitting, because I was working as much as I could, right?
Yeah.
And we were sitting 17 hours a day, just cracking code and, just trying to come up with something on my dining table. So that was like really, really it. Just sitting there. And I remember I wake up, during the morning, and he's sitting there like listening to hard music, like super hard techno music, and
trying to stay awake, basically.
Yeah, try to stay awake, like super hard techno music. We are working the entire day, like 17 hours, like the day, and I feel like I need to go out, get some air. This guy is crazy. He's working so much, and I went out, eating something, just doing something else. And then I coming back, he's sitting at the exact same spot, according to the exact same music.
And that's when you know you had the right guy.
Yeah, exactly. No, but and then the crazy story is that we were sitting. I was getting back to work again. Then I was going to sleep,
and he's still there.
And I'm waking up, and he's still there.
Wow.
So it's a very funny story, but also like a sad story, right? Yep. Because you need to have the balance, and I think that is also what's later on shows when you're working that hard is you're more running like 100 meters than running a marathon, and when you're building a company, it's not like a short-term thing. You're committing from long term, like many years in the future. So unfortunately, it didn't work out to work that way, and I think we both were a little bit almost burnt out at some point.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So, yeah.
How do you work now to balance that kind of work and life?
I think it switched a lot since that beginning, because we think that we were like invincible in the beginning and you can work how much you want, but pretty fast you're realizing that, okay, you aren't eating as good, because maybe you forget to eat like the lunch because you're so into something. And when you're starting to, doing stuff like that and compromise on, various aspects, you're sleeping a little bit too little and, you're eating too little, then everything is starting to affect you. And of course, you need to have maybe more crunchy periods during the company time, because it's like in cycles, like sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. So I think how I try to balance this is when you are in a cycle that is a little bit like less and it's a little bit like lower, then I tend to, rest more. And in the crunchier period, so when I am in the crunchier period, I
you have the energy.
Exactly. Yeah. So I balance it like that way.
Yeah.
And you talked about Noah, right? And you said when you were sitting there for 17 hours a day that you really didn't know him, at least at the beginning. So like, how does that come in? Like, how do you choose that person to help you with, basically?
Are you good friends now?
Yeah, we are still very good friends, and we were living together for like pretty long, because then we had a very exciting story overall. But we moved to Switzerland and did like multiple stuff. But he's actually in San Francisco right now and building another company. So after we felt that we almost got like burnt out, we just like felt that because he was working so hard, which I kind of of course know. So I was at that point, it was like a pretty, period of like existential period in that sense, because like Noah was a little bit burnt out, like we said, and try to moving forward with everything happening. You have a company, now I have devs. I have a product, it's still a MVP, and we are starting to get to a state, but I certainly have zero funding. I have a team that I should try to negotiate with that is like global in the world. Noah is now burnt out, so it's a pretty crunchy, period at that time. So I just felt that I needed to step in. So at that point, I was head of like the commercial team, customer success. Yeah. I stepped in as the CTO, CPO, so everything. And I think I learned a lot because I have seen all the different aspects of the company. What do I need to have in the product to be successful in that sense? Technical, also commercially, and also like from the customer success point of view. So I think it's very healthy to actually, as a founder, be in all the parts, like at some point, and trying and seeing like how it actually is.
Yeah, you're very full-rounded. You know every aspect. That's really good. Yeah. To stay in touch with, everything. And to that point, Noah, is he still working with you in the company?
No, so Noah actually, started our own company called Safon, which also, it's an amazing company and doing it with amazing people now in San Francisco. Yeah. So big kudos to the team. I think they also raised a lot of money and doing some very cool stuff overall.
And how did you raise money at the beginning?
Yeah, so at that point, a little bit like we touched on before, I was left with the entire team. My CTO left, the architect and everything. So I just needed to learn. So I tend to have this kind of mindset of learning by doing. This is what I really believe in. And this is exactly what I did. So I just stepped in and tried to learn as much as I could. And just trying to build exactly out of my vision that I had from the beginning. Because I seen this firsthand, sitting with my own systems from my previous companies, sitting in, all the ATS systems, sourcing tools, and trying to make this work. And it really, really didn't work. And then I went out to the recruitment firms and I tried to, imagine me as a startup coming to a recruitment firm and I want to find like a CTO and, their salary depends everything from 10k euros to 20k euros. And then it's a fee of 3 times that, usually what you're charging. So it might be, 30k to hire one person as like a CTO. Yeah. And, as a startup, that is very, very much. So I really couldn't do that. So out of that frustration in sitting in those tools, I really had a clear vision of what I wanted to build. Both for the recruiter's point of view, like the companies, how can they become more efficient in like just meeting the people behind the resume? But in the same sense, I also think that, for the companies like the startups, the scale-ups, that is like sitting day to day, they should have a tool that really supports their need in scaling. So I just had high conviction going back to the team, set like, of course, hard negotiation in like how to go forward with this. And then it was just like, with the high conviction, with some customers, because we also started to see like customers coming in. I think it's definitely not a hard, it's definitely a hard thing to raise money, like really, really hard overall. Because in my opinion, you are yourself, right? And when you're raising money, you should still run the business. So the VCs that you're raising for, they are thinking mostly that, you should, in that process, because usually in the DD process is pretty long. And in that process, they are thinking that, you should grow as a company, right? With more and more customers and everything like growing, and like you should do the product stuff and everything around it. But in the same sense, you have the VC that is calling you every 20 minutes and asking for more and more and more materials and, So I think that process overall is pretty heavy, but I think if you have a great product and the rest will come. So I'm very product focused.
Yeah. And throughout this journey that you had now, probably a lot of experiences in a very short time. And in these experiences, have you had any like really high highs and very low lows? Like some moments you're like, what is going on, or stuff like that?
Yeah, 100%. When Noah left was one of them, right? Because then I was, I was with one engineering team trying to, take this myself and make something out of it. That's one part. But then, of course, we have amazing highs where it's like, yeah, we are winning as the team. But when you're inside of it, I'm like really, we are too bad at celebrating stuff. And this is like also a feedback for me because I feel that we're working so much all the time that we don't even celebrate. But of course, we have customers now in over 17 countries, which is pretty awesome. We launched in May. Yeah. We have customers in Japan sitting and prompting, there. Yeah. And in Germany, Stockholm, Sweden, that's a big market, of course. We also formed a strategic partnership with Google, which is pretty huge. And, just going forward, and I think there is happening a lot for us. And I think a lot of these things and like the highs that we are seeing is because that we identified like a huge market. I think everyone needs help with hiring first off. Everyone from like a startup to a scale up. And this is also how internally our customer base is looking. We have recruitment companies, we have the big enterprise, startups, scale ups, all the different categories. And this is what we're trying to, build a solution where we can, fit for all needs, which is pretty different. It doesn't fit the startup book, right? Yeah. Because if you're looking at the startup book, it should be very pointy, very small, and niched. So,
and you basically we've been with a bit with Talentium now, but you also have another company, right? Tennis balls, right? Sounds a bit of a big difference there.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah. So I also we can go back a little bit to the backstory, but I had my first company. Yeah. We were analyzing this data set and I was actually selling that company, right? So I really didn't know what to do. So I was out traveling globally and we're like, okay, what should I do with my life now? Now I just sold the company and I really didn't know what to do at that point. So I went to the US. I have never been there. I actually moved there to New York for a while. And pretty cool experience. Was just out traveling and seeing multiple stuff. And from there, I started also to play tennis.
Yeah, cool.
So when I started to play tennis, I just went to the court with like this training person, which was like the tennis trainer to learn tennis. And when I was there all the time, I was buying new tennis balls cans. Yeah. And I felt whenever I was buying a new can of tennis balls, I felt, why do I need to do it? Because it feels like the tennis balls still have like a value, but I'm just throwing it away through the trash. So I took that like feeling with me and started to do some research, and we saw that around 300 million tennis balls globally are just consumed. They're just throwing them away, burning them, whatever. Like 98% is just getting like burnt or on depot. So I felt that, it's way too much, 300 million tennis balls each year.
I mean, I've played tennis basically my whole life, been a tennis trainer as well, like past years, and I've always, like when we used them a few times, then you just throw them out. That's basically what I've learned. So maybe you as like new to tennis, you look at this and like, why are we doing this? So like for me, like you can't really get it back, but how do you do it and how do you recycle them?
So what we're doing is that we are gathering these tennis balls from all the different tennis clubs globally. Yep. So we are working with paddle and tennis, and we are basically having this kind of gathering, shell in samling shells. I don't really know what that is in English, but you have like a station where you're putting the tennis balls inside of them. So from there, we're taking the tennis balls and the paddle balls, and we are, taking them to our factory. So in the factory, we have a big machine that we have developed. And this machine is basically separating the field from the rubber, so you're getting pure rubber as material. And with the rubber, we are building new playgrounds for children and multiple areas where other are like playing around and everything. And actually, 99% of all the floors and like playgrounds as of today are built by car tires, so like rest products of car tires, like mostly of this. And as of now, they're actually coming like a new kind of regulations, like a European regulations, where they say like, because of different materials inside of that rubber, it's not like good for children to play on it.
Like chemicals and stuff, probably.
Exactly. Yeah. So based on that, it's coming like a new regulation where you are basically not allowed to build this, playgrounds and everything around it anymore.
But you are allowed to do it with tennis balls, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Perfect.
So tennis balls is a great thing, and it's much better, both because we are not producing new tennis balls, right? We're using the materials, so we are coming down a lot in energy, first off, and secondly, it's not as bad as car tires when it comes to different, chemicals, etc.
Not to mention it's a very sustainable way and it's good for the environment. So
Yeah.
And like just listening to this now, you have Talentium, you have Playgreen. It sounds like two completely different companies. So like, are there some similarities, and like, what are the absolute biggest differences in that?
Similarity is that we are solving a problem, right?
Yeah.
So we are solving a hiring, and we are also solving the problem inside of the reuse of tennis balls. Similarities, I would say, it's basically how you're tackling problems. For me, I tackle them like pretty much the same way. So I have my thought process is pretty similar. You're starting with a problem that I'm finding, and in this case, it was towards hiring when I'm talking about Talentium, for example. So I felt this frustration myself firsthand. The same of buying new tennis balls cans, right? And then it's more, how can I get to the point where like my end goal is fulfilled? So when it comes to tennis balls, is the end goal is to do something with the tennis balls so that it still has like a value. And when it comes to Talentium, it's more to get the people in the right place. So it's like you're solving a problem, and then every single company is coming with different challenges, of course. But I think I have my own thought process in how to solve them.
And what about the differences then? Is it like one is AI, basically focus on AI, one is recycling? What are the main differences?
The main differences, I would say, is that it's completely two different industries. So when I'm talking about Playgreen, everything takes way, way, way much longer.
Yeah.
You are building playgrounds for children. It should, you should do like tests on your rubber and, on your fiber, and, building a machine. It takes super, super, super long just to order the machine. It takes like 1 year to get the machine up, and then you haven't even developed it, like, so one step before that. So I think overall the process with Playgreen and everything around it is taking super long. But with Talentium, it's more like an instant feedback loop. I can just try it myself real time. I can, build something, and then I can try it if it's working or not. And, you get this instant feedback. So this is also, huge differences. And for me, personally, I love the short cycles where I just like get the instant feedback and I can optimize all myself.
Yeah, cool. And basically for the future then, Playgreen, what is the plan with that? And also maybe Talentium, but we can go into that later. But Playgreen, you're recycling, how was the plan with that basically?
So Playgreen right now is a company where, like I said, it's taking very long with all these processes overall. So it's taking very long of like getting the rubber, like first off approved, and then where to have it in the different, like, because you have something that is called like the top of the rubber kind of material, and then you have the bottom, and you want to be able to make it at the top. But for that, you need to check everything, because on the top layer, you usually have all the children's like playing and, licking on the ground and stuff. So it needs to be really, really tested.
Yeah.
So that's taking longer. But as of now, we actually got everything, it's done. So we have everything like sorted and all good. So which is actually amazing.
Yeah. So is construction going to start, you think?
Yeah. So first off that, and then we actually have the case pretty much done in a lot of aspects, and we actually have a couple of investors joining now, which feels very good. I also feel that I have too much inside of Talentium. So I really have high conviction in that Playgreen will take even more shape than it is today. And I think there is a lot of opportunities of joining that company, because I think there is so much potential in it. But for me, right now in my journey, I will really like 100% focusing on Talentium.
Yeah, cool. And when we're looking into the future, like maybe for Playgreens, maybe a bit easier to see where you guys are in 5 years. But with the AI, like if you're trying to predict Talentium, for example, where would you be there in 5 years? Like even in like 2 years, I mean, you didn't even have it like 2 years ago.
No.
So where are we in a year maybe?
So I think in a year, we also have launched a new side of people finding their dream jobs. So we are building the solution for hiring. So all the companies should think of us as that. We think that LinkedIn is an amazing, platform overall when it comes to networking and, more like a social media. But we don't think it solves the problem when it comes to hiring. This is like at least my take on it. And this is what we are building at Talentium. We are building the new way to find your dream job. And in the same sense, we're also building the new way for companies to hire the ones that they want. So globally, in 2 years, we also have launched the candidate side 100%, so that we have a lot of people getting jobs through Talentium. And we're also starting to become like the standard when it comes to hiring in Europe.
But what's going to differentiate Talentium from LinkedIn or other employee hiring sites?
So when we are looking at it from, let's say, from the candidate side, as an example, then we are more seeing it as a solution working for you instead of you working inside of solution. So with other words, you are not supposed to like apply to job boards. Like when you are starting your first like school and you're working like your way up, everything to get like the job in the future, right? So you are almost spending so much hour to get like a job. And then you're coming, and when you're trying to find the internships overall, it's very hard, right? To get an internships, it take a lot of time. And especially when you are done, then you should get out there and you should try to apply to multiple jobs at the same time. And just have something in different processes, and you have like maybe I don't know, like Notes or Notion or somewhere there where you're putting, or like Excel where you're putting all the data on the interviews that you're having. But I think we are building a solution for you, so we are kind of reverting that equation, saying like, hey, we have your own agent going out finding your dream job for you in the background.
Yeah.
So you can set it on Copilot. So with other words, you just set it completely on Copilot. You are focusing on your work, and you just get connected with the ones that you should talk with, basically. Knowing your calendar, knowing your status, everything about you, and basically give a good presentation. So we are seeing in the future, like the hiring managers having their own agent, talking to other agents and just matching that together.
Oh.
And these agents, will that be AI driven, basically? Everything?
Yeah, so everything is mainly AI driven.
Cool.
Yeah.
And I heard like even like right now, for example, when you are reaching out to that, basically Talentium basically books the dates for the interviews as well, right? Because they have access to your calendar.
Yeah, exactly. So as of today, we have access to the calendar. So we are, taking everything from that you're finding a candidate until it's hired. But during that process, our recruiter overall spends so much time setting first off and finding those profiles, trying to, come up with something to write. And all of this is like mainly automated, so that the recruiter can focusing on what matters, right? To get to know the people behind the resume. So with the help of AI, we want to, become more human. We want to, with the help of AI, make the recruitment process more human.
Interesting.
And who would basically be the customers for Talentium? For example, if you take me, for example, I'm a first year here at SSE.
Yeah.
I read that, for example, you go into the internet, search like on GitHub. I haven't produced like anything basically on the internet. Would I have would I benefit basically from Talentium, do you think?
Yeah, 100%. So first off, of course, you need to have some like presence on the internet. So when we are launching more the B2C side, where you can find your dream job 100%, like then we will build like a picture for you. And if we don't know something, then we will ask. So it's that easy. Imagine an agent, we have find a perfect job for you. And then the jobs requires that you can speak English. And we don't know if you can speak English. Yeah. So then we just ask the question and then we add it. So this is how we are scaling you also as a profile.
How do you make sure that it's truthful and that you're not kind of misleading your...
Because maybe for English it's a bit easier to know, but if you, for example, ask, how proficient are you in Python, then maybe they can, like for example, what people do on LinkedIn, that they basically know a lot more than they know, basically.
Exactly. So this is what we're thinking as of today is a big problem overall with the current like solution and where people are hiring. Usually they tend to hire by title. So if you have been at a certain company and have a certain title, this is usually what you're looking for. And in our case, it's more that we're actually analyzing work that has been done. So I can give a couple of examples. So when it comes to developers, we can actually analyze the repositories, on GitHub, and we can check the code that they have produced, like various projects that they have built. When it comes to designers, we can check like at Figma community, Lovable, what is the preference? Do they like minimalism, different portfolio and, everything around that. When it comes to, for example, researcher, as another example, usually they don't put their papers on LinkedIn. So they just have like a title and they don't update so much. But what we are doing is that we can analyze the paper that they have published on, for example, Google Scholar, as an example. And we can check that paper and build like comprehensive profile with multiple data sources to build like a profile that no one else has seen. And in combination of you also being able to, adding, a little bit on your own stuff, as a people searching for job, I think this is when it's become pretty interesting, because then you have, something that definitely LinkedIn doesn't have, and, more a picture that actually represents you. What is your interest? And, also this culture fit is pretty important. And today is not something that a lot of people is taking in consideration in the process.
And eventually, for example, on LinkedIn, as you talked about, if you feel like it's basically more like a social media site at this point, where you make your profile, write some posts. Would that be something you would want to do with Talentium? Basically, try to get people that are searching for jobs onto the platform.
Yeah. So for us, we are mainly about fixing the problem when it comes to hiring. Yeah. So we want that we are building like the infrastructure for human capital. And what does that mean? Yeah, that's like, you as a person should find your dream job pretty fast and get hired. And you as a company should find the person that you should hire pretty fast. And, that should be the infra. We are not a social media. We are a platform solving that specific problem. So with other words, I don't think that, it will be, we are not developing a new app. So mainly how it will work is that you will have like your phone and potentially you will just have like a phone number. And it's directly there and you can chat with your agent or the ones that is representing you. So it's not that we are building like a new platform. We are just built into your day-to-day flow already.
Yeah, cool. I think we're running slightly bit out of time, but for me, and I don't think there's anybody better to ask, I think you're probably one of the great expert on AI. What do you think, like, with the job market? Like, because AI is probably taking quite a lot of jobs, and I guess that applies quite a lot to Talentium as well, where jobs are disappearing. Like, does that make it more difficult for Talentium as well, or how do you see that?
We see it in two ways. So first off, we can look back in time. It's always like that, like even in industrialization or, just looking back in time. Usually you have a lot of skepticism, you're a little bit afraid it takes your job. Then we are seeing the volumes. It's creating a lot of more job opportunities because there's so many companies getting created. And then it's like the new roles popping up. So we are thinking about it like AI will, of course, take so many jobs, but it was also, create a lot of jobs. And this is, a side of it where we truly I think prompting will become much more, prompt engineering and stuff like that will be like a big thing. But also up and coming, Talentium is a platform where we're hiring people, right? So that is one part. But, as we grow, at some point you will also be able to hire agents on side of Talentium. So like real AIs that is like doing the work and working like for you there. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think we should end this off with a bit of quick fire questions?
Sure, let's go.
Okay. Talentium or Power Green or Play Green? Sorry.
Talentium.
Yeah.
Talentium or LinkedIn? Hopefully.
Talentium.
Good.
Coffee or energy drinks? What do you
Coffee.
prefer? Coffee? You're a coffee guy?
Yeah.
Those long nights, it was the coffee?
To be honest, I don't drink either.
Yeah, but
so
that's good.
But I like coffee more.
Yeah, understandable.
What are you a night owl or are you a morning person?
Oof, depending in period, but I would say morning person.
That's for the final question then. SSE or KTH?
SSE.
Yes.
Super.
All right, perfect.
Thank
well,
you so
thanks
much
a lot
for
for coming here.
Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
And I think we have something for you in the back, right?
All right.
Yes, we do. Right there.
Tack så jättemycket.
Ja, thank you for coming.